She said she feels good. She feels fine. Well, if she does, the Indiana Fever should be allowing her to play. This is women's professional basketball, right? This is pro basketball, right? If a player is healthy enough to play, they should play. I understand it's Alyssa Thomas. It's the Phoenix Mercury, although I thought I saw that Alyssa Thomas may not even play in this game. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Imagine paying full price for a concert ticket, driving 2 hours to the venue, waiting in line, finding your seat, and then watching the opening act perform the entire show while the headliner sits backstage completely healthy, completely ready to perform, telling anyone who will listen that she feels great and wants to be out there. Now imagine the venue's official explanation is simply, she's resting. No injury, no medical emergency, no contractual obligation, just rest. That's exactly what happened to thousands of Indiana Fever fans and millions of WNBA viewers when the organization listed Caitlin Clark, the most popular player in women's basketball history, the athlete who single-handedly transformed the WNBA.
Able to launch those logo threes. And boy, I got to tell you, they also posted about tonight's game. And, Caitlin Clark fans are like, nah, I'm good. I can tell you right now, will I be watching? Nope. You can forget that shit. I'm not doing what I did last year, which is watch every game and do a reaction after every single game. If Caitlin Clark doesn't play, no. And frankly, if it's a late game like last night and we see the nonsense we saw last night, I didn't do a reaction to that sumbitch either. I told Ben Daniel, I said, I really ain't got shit good to say right now. I'm not putting a reaction out to the
A woman who told reporters with complete clarity that her body feels great, and she didn't even get winded, as out for rest against the Phoenix Mercury. One day after she played 16 minutes, one day after she explicitly stated she was ready to play, one day after she looked directly into the camera and told the world she was fine. This isn't just poor roster management. This isn't just a questionable coaching decision. This is something far more significant, far more troubling, and far more consequential for the future of women's professional basketball than anyone in Indiana's front office seems willing to acknowledge. What we are watching unfold right now in real time is a full-blown organizational crisis, one that threatens the business model of the Indiana Fever, undermines the growth trajectory of the entire WNBA, and raises serious questions about whether the people making decisions in Indiana understand what they actually have in Caitlin Clark and what they're risking by treating her this way. Buckle up, because this goes much deeper than one missed game. Before we go any further, before we analyze coaching philosophies and business models and league-wide implications, we need to establish the foundation of this entire controversy with absolute precision. Because words matter, especially when those words come directly from the player at the center of the story. After the Las Vegas game, the game where Caitlin Clark played 16 minutes, subbed in and out every 2 to 3 minutes in a rotation pattern that made observers question everything they thought they knew about basketball strategy. She sat down with reporters and delivered a series of statements that should have made the rest designation the following day completely impossible to justify. She was asked about those bizarre rotation patterns. Her response was immediate and unambiguous. It was not my decision. 4 words, direct, clear, unequivocal. Someone else made that call. Someone else decided that the most dynamic offensive player in women's basketball should operate from 3-minute windows that prevented her from establishing any kind of rhythm, flow, or competitive momentum. Then she expanded on the impact of that decision. It's really hard to get in the flow, she said. For the most part, I got good looks. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. I probably didn't get a feel for the game as I usually do. It's really, really hard for me to play in that scenario. Read those words carefully. She's not complaining for the sake of complaining. She's explaining, with the technical precision of a professional athlete who understands her own game intimately, exactly why the coaching strategy is counterproductive. She needs rhythm. She needs flow. She needs the kind of sustained playing time that allows a shooter who launches from 30 feet to build confidence, timing, and muscle memory. 3-minute rotations destroy all of that. And then she said the part that makes the subsequent rest designation not just questionable, but genuinely bad. Overall, my body feels great, so that's a positive I can take from today. She went even further. She told reporters she informed trainers after the game that while the result was disappointing, she'd take it as a win in terms of how her body responded. She said she didn't even get winded. Didn't even get winded. This is a professional basketball player telling the world, with complete transparency and apparent sincerity, that she is physically prepared to compete, that her conditioning is excellent, that her body is responding exactly as hoped after whatever limitations may have existed earlier in the season. In the Indiana Fever's response to those statements, delivered publicly to a media contingent that broadcast them to millions of people, they listed her as out for rest. Not injury, not illness, not precautionary limitation, rest. After 16 minutes of playing time, after her explicit statement that her body feels great, after she said she wasn't even winded. The disconnect between what Caitlin Clark said and what the Indiana Fever decided was so stark, so jarring, so fundamentally at odds with basic logic that it demands explanation. Explanation that the organization has so far been entirely unwilling to provide. Here's something the Indiana Fever front office apparently forgot, or perhaps never bothered to learn. The NBA already fought this battle, and it got ugly. For years, teams in the NBA practiced what became known as load management. Star players sitting out games they were healthy enough to play. Kawhi Leonard resting on nationally televised games. Veterans sitting back-to-backs routinely. Teams prioritizing long-term health over short-term competitive effort. Fans revolting, networks complaining. Television executives who had paid billions of dollars for broadcast rights found themselves airing games without the stars those contracts were built to win. Ticket holders showed up to arenas expecting to watch elite basketball and watch bench players instead. The NBA didn't ignore the problem. The league took action, real action. They implemented rules requiring advance notice when healthy players were arrested. They created policies mandating a medical justification for absences. They fined
Has officially become a scam. Caitlin Clark out, rest. Is it my understanding that you guys claim Scott Agnes, y'all came down on him because of load management? Well, what the is that? If a player is healthy enough to play and they're sitting out and you literally put rest, hate to break it to you, it's load management.
Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so
It's
you
load
never miss a
management.
video.
Seriously, and what's going on with this training staff? Now Sophie Cunningham's got back spasms. They showed up last night at game time. Aaliyah Boston, that phantom lower leg injury that nobody is quite sure as to what's really going on.
Teams that violated availability protocols. They made clear with financial consequences that healthy players are expected to play professional basketball games. The entire premise was straightforward. Fans buy tickets. Networks pay billions for broadcast rights. Corporate sponsors attach their brands to specific players in specific games. If the product isn't delivered, if the star player is sitting in a suit on the bench while perfectly healthy, you're betraying every stakeholder who made the financial commitment that allows professional basketball to exist. The NBA learned that lesson the hard way. They changed their policies accordingly. Now watch what's happening in the WNBA, a league that watched the NBA fight through this exact controversy and still allowed Indiana to list Caitlin Clark, a player who publicly stated she was healthy and ready, as out for rest. The WNBA is making the same mistake the NBA made, except the WNBA is making it with far less margin for error. The NBA has decades of established fan loyalty, global brand recognition, and billion-dollar revenue streams to absorb the damage load management caused. The WNBA is still building its audience, still establishing credibility with casual fans, still trying to convert the massive wave
Injury report. Caitlin Clark out rest just 24 hours after she told reporters her body great, after she said she didn't even get winded, after she explicitly stated she's ready to play.
Cannot rest.
Now the Indiana Fever are
still
listing
fighting for the casual sports fans' attention and trust. The NBA learned that lesson after years of damage.
that's rapidly losing patience. What we're watching unfold here is something unprecedented in WNBA history, and the fallout is getting uglier by the era is out for rest against the Phoenix Mercury. This isn't just questionable roster management anymore. This has become a full-blown crisis of confidence between the league's biggest star, her coaching staff, and the fan base.
Sore Achilles? Is it a strain? Is it? What's their job exactly? So this came out, so it's rest now. After she let us know that she's fine, stop messing with her stats. Okay, last night's comments. It was not my decision. That was somebody else's decision, talking about those 2 to 3 minute spurts that made us all want to pick our eyeballs out of our heads with a spoon. Quote, it's just really hard.
Thrives within a structured half-court defense. She is a creator, playmaker, an offensive weapon whose effectiveness is directly tied to her ability to read the game in real time, build on previous possessions, and establish the kind of psychological dominance over defenders that comes from sustained engagement with the flow of competition. Her signature weapon, the logo 3, the shot from 30 feet that leaves defenders frozen because it comes from an impossible distance, requires confidence. Confidence requires rhythm. Rhythm requires sustained playing time. When you sub her in and out every 2 to 3 minutes, you're not just limiting minutes. You're actively preventing her from doing the things that make her great. You're ensuring she never gets bored, never establishes her rhythm, never forces the defense to make the adjustments that will create opportunities for her teammates. It's the basketball equivalent of asking a surgeon to perform an operation and then pulling them out of the operating room every 5 minutes to rest before bringing them back. The technical skill is still there. The capability is still there. But the focus, the flow, the accumulated understanding of what this specific situation requires, all of that gets shattered by the interruption. Caitlin Clark told you this herself. It's really, really hard for me to play in that scenario. She wasn't being dramatic. She was explaining, with the clarity of someone who has spent her entire life mastering this specific craft, why the coaching strategy was working against her rather than for her. A player of her caliber in her second professional season, developing her game and establishing her identity as a professional, needs to play, not in 3-minute windows that prevent rhythm. Play, real, sustained, consecutive minutes that allow her to impact the game and grow as a competitor. 16 minutes, 2 to 3 minute rotations, then rest the next game. If you were designing a strategy specifically intended to stunt the development of the most talented young player in your league, it would look remarkably similar to what Indiana has been doing. Let's have a direct conversation about money, because ultimately, professional sports franchises are businesses, and business decisions have financial consequences that eventually become impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark is the Indiana Fever's most valuable asset. She's the reason casual sports fans who have never watched a WNBA game in their lives suddenly found themselves staying up past midnight to watch women's professional basketball. She's the reason ticket prices for Fever games reached levels previously unimaginable for a WNBA franchise. She's the reason television ratings for women's basketball reached historic heights. She is the reason corporate sponsors suddenly view WNBA partnerships as desirable rather than charitable. The numbers don't lie. Games featuring Caitlin Clark averaged over 1 million viewers last season. Games without her dropped to approximately 200,000. The difference isn't marginal. It's not a slight decline. It's a catastrophic 80% reduction in audience size. One player, 80% of the audience. That's not just remarkable. That's unprecedented in the history of women's professional sports. It represents an economic force so significant that treating it carelessly isn't just bad strategy, it's organizational negligence. Now examine what the Indiana Fever did with this information. They rested their 80% of the audience play. They told the fans who drove those historic ratings, she's not playing tonight. They told the networks that scheduled games in prime time expecting to broadcast the league's biggest attraction, sorry, she's resting. They told the sponsors who built marketing campaigns around the presence of the court, not tonight. And they did this after she publicly stated she was healthy enough to play. The financial damage extends beyond one night's ratings. The truly dangerous consequences behavior when you rest your star player without legitimate medical justification, especially when the player herself is publicly contradicting the decision. You're training your fan base to distrust you. You're teaching them not to buy tickets in advance because the star might not play. You're conditioning them to check the injury report before deciding whether to tune in. You're giving them a reason to make other plans rather than committing to watching Fever games, because commitment feels foolish when availability is apparently arbitrary. That behavioral conditioning, once established, is extraordinarily difficult to reverse. Fans who learn not to trust a team's availability reports don't simply forget that lesson when the star starts playing regularly again. They carry that skepticism forward. They maintain their protective distance. They continue checking before committing. The Indiana Fever are training their the fan base that made them relevant, that drove their revenue, that created the cultural moment that put women's basketball on the national sports map, not to trust them. That's not a short-term problem. That's an organizational wound that will bleed for years. If you want to understand how serious this
feels great. So that's a positive I can take from today. Overall, my body feels great. Caitlin says she's feeling good. I told trainers after the game that it stinks we didn't win, that we didn't play well. But I'll take it as a win, how my body feels and how I really felt out there. I didn't even get very winded. She should be playing tonight. Caitlin Clark should be playing. This is professional basketball. And I don't want to hear they're playing the Mercury. I don't want to hear any of that. I brought it up this morning about the fact that if she is healthy, she should play. That goes for every other player in any professional league I've ever talked about in 6 years. I mean, honestly. Not watching, I hate how Caitlin's getting treated by Steph White. I despise this
situation has become. You don't need economic analysis or ratings projections. You just need to look at what happened when the Indiana Fever posted their game day announcement for the Phoenix Mercury matchup. Social media is an imperfect tool for many things, but it is an extraordinarily accurate gauge of immediate fan sentiment. When a franchise posts promotional content and the response is overwhelmingly, uniformly negative, something has gone genuinely wrong. The Fever's game day post generated responses that read like a fan base that has reached its breaking point. Not watching. Fire Stephanie White. Trade Caitlin. Boycotting. No Clark, no watch. Cancel my subscription. Done with this team. These weren't isolated comments from a small group of angry superfans venting frustration. These were hundreds of responses, all carrying the same message, all reflecting the same sentiment. The Caitlin Clark fan base, the demographic that drove unprecedented engagement in the WNBA last season, the people who set streaming records and sold out arenas and made women's basketball a mainstream conversation, was openly declaring its intention to disengage. Not reduce engagement, not watch less carefully, disengage, boycott, walk away. This is the fan base that the WNBA spent 2 years celebrating. The Caitlin Clark effect, the new audience, the converted casual fans, the young women and men who had never watched women's basketball and suddenly couldn't get enough of it. They were heralded as the future of the league, evidence that women's basketball had finally achieved mainstream cultural relevance. And now they're telling the Indiana Fever they won't watch if Caitlin Clark doesn't play. The Fever's social media team is watching these engagement numbers in real time. They can see the shift. They can measure the sentiment. They can track exactly when fan enthusiasm turned to frustration and when frustration turned to something more permanent. The question is whether anyone with actual decision-making power is listening to what those numbers are telling them. Stephanie White arrived in Indiana carrying a specific reputation and a specific manner. She was presented as the coach who would bring structure, discipline, and defensive identity to a Fever franchise that had talented pieces but lacked organizational coherence. The sales pitch was compelling: a defensive guru, a system builder, someone who could install a program, establish accountability, and turn the Indiana Fever into a team that could compete deep into the playoffs. Fans bought that narrative, the front office committed to it, and Stephanie White arrived with a vision for how this team would play. The problem, the fundamental, structural problem that no amount of coaching expertise can solve without addressing it directly, is that her vision is incompatible with her best player. Stephanie White's system is built around slower pace, controlled ball movement, structured spacing, and half-court execution. Methodical, patient, deliberate, motion offense that prioritizes ball movement over individual creation. Caitlin Clark's game is built around the exact opposite principles. She thrives in transition. She's elite in the pick and roll, where she can read defenders and make split-second decisions that create advantages. She generates offense through pace.
Somebody literally came out and said they're trying to keep her from winning the MVP. Hey, Congress, you want to look into something? Why don't you sniff around gambling in the WNBA? Just pointing that out. Cash Patel, you got your ears on? Laughing my ass off, so disingenuous. Cece was on limited minutes yesterday and was out before yesterday. It's crazy. Come on. Holy shit, you actually listed rest. Get this woman to a new team. Did she ask for rest, or are the coaches forcing this on her? Rest from 16 minutes last night? Question mark? Just rest them all. Stop doing this BS. I mean, seriously, CC rested last night too. I don't know a lot about basketball, but Stephanie White is doing
unpredictability through the creative freedom that allows her to operate as both a scorer and a facilitator simultaneously. When you constrain those elements, when you slow the pace, when you run a motion offense that requires her to operate within predetermined patterns rather than respond to what the defense gives her, when you sub her in and out before she can establish any flow, you're not coaching Caitlin Clark. You're coaching a system and asking Caitlin Clark to fit inside it. That approach has a track record. It doesn't work. Not when the player in question is elite enough that her individual capability exceeds what any system can contain. The greatest coaches in basketball history understood this principle intuitively. Phil Jackson didn't ask Michael Jordan to subordinate his game to the triangle offense. He built the triangle offense around what Michael Jordan could do within it. Greg Popovich didn't tell Tim Duncan to play a different style. He constructed an entire organizational philosophy around maximizing what Tim Duncan did naturally. You build the system around the star. You adapt the structure to showcase the talent. You ask the system to serve the player, not the other way around. What's happening in Indiana appears to be the reverse. The system is being imposed on the player. The structure is constraining the talent. And the result, boring offense, ineffective defense, and a franchise player who is publicly saying she can't find rhythm because of the rotation patterns, suggests that this approach is failing on multiple levels simultaneously. Here's where the situation moves beyond coaching philosophy and fan frustration into territory that should concern everyone involved with the WNBA, from team management to league executives to the regulatory bodies that oversee sports betting. The Indiana Fever's injury reports have developed a pattern that doesn't align with observable reality. Leah Boston has been listed with a lower leg injury for multiple games. Lower leg, that's it, no further specification. Is it her knee, her Achilles, her calf, a strain, a sprain, structural damage, soft tissue inflammation? The designation provides no actionable medical information. It's vague language that functions as a shield against scrutiny rather than a genuine effort at transparency. Sophie Cunningham appears on the injury report with back spasms that apparently materialized at game time, with no prior indication in practice reports or team communications. The timing is suspicious enough to raise questions about whether the designation reflects actual medical information or serves some other purpose. And now Caitlin Clark, who explicitly stated that her body feels great, that she didn't get winded, that she's ready to play, is listed as out for rest. When multiple players are dealing with vague or sudden injury designations, when the descriptions lack the specificity that would allow for genuine understanding of what's happening medically, when the star player's availability contradicts her own public statements about her health, you have to ask what's actually happening. There are two possible explanations, and neither one reflects well on the organization. The first possibility is that the Indiana Fever genuinely have significant medical and training staff concerns, that there's something happening with player health management that is producing these outcomes. If that's the case, the organization has a serious problem with its medical infrastructure that needs immediate and comprehensive attention. Repeated vague injury designations, sudden late availability changes, and a pattern of health issues across multiple players would suggest systemic failure in how the franchise manages player wellness. The second possibility is that injury reports are being used as cover for roster management decisions, that the designations don't always reflect genuine medical situations, but rather coaching or organizational preferences about player availability. If that's the case, the Fever are potentially violating the spirit and possibly the letter of injury reporting requirements, creating exactly the kind of information asymmetry that sports integrity regulations exist to prevent. betting is now legal in the majority of American states. People are wagering real money on WNBA games. Those wagers are placed based on available information, including injury reports and player availability disclosures. When injury reports are inaccurate and availability designations don't reflect actual health status, when bettors are making financial decisions based on information that doesn't correspond to reality, you have a gambling integrity problem. The NBA implemented its injury reporting reforms precisely because inconsistent and unreliable availability information created exactly these kinds of concerns. The WNBA needs to be asking itself, right now, whether its current practices are adequate to prevent the kind of integrity questions that could turn a coaching controversy into a regulatory investigation. Let's take a step back from the immediate controversy and think about the longer-term implications for Caitlin Clark personally, because those implications are significant, and they should be deep.
I have more important things to do than to stay awake and watch Stephanie White's boring-ass motion sickness. Another loss, boycotting. F off, won't be watching. Woo! Not a chance in hell. I'm staying up to watch this. People are, thank you. Fires Stephanie White or trade CC. Fire Stephanie White. That's crazy. Stephanie White is intentionally trying to destroy Caitlin Clark. People are not having it. Seriously, they are not. I can't wait to see how Stephanie White mismanages the game tonight. Look, Caitlin Clark's not playing. She'll figure it out tonight. Wow.
Concerning to everyone who has a stake in the Indiana Fever's future. She is 23 years old. She is in her second professional season. This is the period in a player's career when development happens most rapidly, when the leap from promising newcomer to established elite competitor occurs, when the experience of playing through adversity and competition builds the foundation for long-term excellence. All of that requires playing time. All of that requires the kind of sustained, meaningful competition that allows a player to test her game, identify weaknesses, make adjustments, and grow. Instead, she's operating in a system that constrains her strengths. She's playing in 3-minute rotations that prevent rhythm development. She's being rested despite her own assessment that she's ready to compete. She's telling reporters that important decisions about her playing time are her choice. This is not how you develop a generational talent. This is not how you create the environment that allows an exceptional player to reach her potential. But perhaps most importantly for the Fever's long-term interests, this is not how you build the kind of organizational loyalty that keeps a franchise player choosing to stay when she eventually has options to leave. The WNBA has a history of its biggest stars voting with their feet when organizations fail. Diana Taurasi nearly departed from Phoenix during periods of organizational dysfunction. Breanna Stewart left Seattle despite winning a championship because she felt the organizational direction didn't align with her competitive goals. Alina Del Don forced a departure from Chicago because the situation wasn't working. The league's elite players have leverage, and they use it when teams fail to support them appropriately. Caitlin Clark is going to become a free agent. She's going to have options. She's going to be able to choose where she plays and how she's managed. And the experience she's accumulating right now, being rested when she says she's healthy, playing in rotation patterns that prevent flow, operating within a system that constrains her natural game, watching coaches make decisions about her playing time without her input, is informing the perspective she'll bring to that future decision. The Indiana Fever have an extraordinary opportunity. They have the most marketable, most compelling, most economically significant player in the history of women's basketball. The question is whether they understand what they have, and whether they're capable of managing it in a way that serves both her development and their organizational interests. Right now, the evidence suggests they may not be. Zoom out further, because what's happening in Indiana doesn't just affect the Fever or even Caitlin Clark individually. It sends a message to every young player preparing to enter the WNBA, and that message matters enormously for the league's future. Angel Reese is watching, Paige Buchers is watching, preparing to make her own professional debut and deciding which organizational culture she wants to enter. Juju Watkins is watching. Every elite young player who will define the next decade of women's professional basketball is observing how the league's current biggest star is being treated. and the message they're receiving isn't encouraging. It tells them that coaching staffs may prioritize systems over individual talent, that organizational structures can override player preferences and development needs, that even the most popular and economically significant player in the league can find herself rested for games she's healthy enough to play. It tells them that playing in the WNBA means accepting a level of organizational control over your career that doesn't always align with your competitive interests or your development trajectory. And perhaps most significantly, it raises questions in their minds about whether the WNBA, despite the genuine progress of recent years, despite the Caitlin Clark effect, despite the record ratings and sold-out arenas and growing national profile, is an organization that prioritizes player development and star management with the sophistication those things require. The NBA and NFL spend enormous resources on player development infrastructure, on coaching hires specifically evaluated for their ability to maximize individual talent, on organizational cultures designed to attract and retain elite players. They understand that franchise players are the foundation of their business and treat them accordingly. The WNBA needs to aspire to that standard, not because it currently operates at the NBA's level. It doesn't, and it's not expected to immediately, but because how it treats its current star shapes the expectations and decisions of its future stars. The next generation of talent is watching. What they're seeing in Indiana right now is not the model the league should want to project. There's a dimension of this crisis that gets less attention than the business and competitive implications, but may ultimately prove equally damaging: team chemistry. When a franchise player tells reporters publicly that rotation decisions weren't her choice, that she can't find her rhythm because of the coaching strategy, that it's really hard to play in the scenarios she's being put in, that's not just a media story. That's information that lives in the locker room. Teammates hear those words. Teammates process what they need. Teammates recognize, whether they acknowledge it openly or not, that there is a disconnect between what the coaching staff wants and what the franchise player needs. That recognition creates tension, and tension is corrosive to team cohesion. Professional teams function best when everyone is aligned, when players trust the coaching staff, when the coaching staff has earned player confidence, when organizational decisions make sense to the people executing. That alignment creates the psychological safety necessary for players to compete freely, take risks, to function as a unified unit, rather than a collection of individuals operating under shared constraints. When the alignment breaks down, when the
Boy, it's ugly. It's ugly. Well, I could have told him that. God, it's a brutal brand of
Don't
basketball
forget to subscribe and turn
that
on
Stephanie
the
White is
notification
trying to get
bell so
people
you
to
never miss
suffer
a video.
through. And by the way, when Caitlin Clark plays, they normally, plays a regular game, they normally score points. Austin Kelly has at least had their offense working. Their defense is dog shit. Defensive guru. Oh, stick that up your keister. Defensive guru. Oh. Dribble, shoot! Yeah, nobody wants to watch that. Nah. I'm going to watching the backside of my eyelids. Peace, I'm out.
star player is publicly questioning coaching decisions, when the rotation patterns are generating open frustration, when rest designations contradict what the player is saying about her own health, that psychological safety erodes. Players start wondering whose side they're supposed to be on. They calculate the political dynamics of the locker room alongside the competitive dynamics of the court. They manage relationships with coaches and teammates simultaneously, and that management takes mental energy that should be directed toward winning basketball games. You cannot build team chemistry under these conditions. You cannot develop the trust and cohesion that allows a team to compete effectively in high-pressure situations when the organizational foundation is this fractured. The Indiana Fever aren't just risking their ratings and their business model. They're risking the competitive environment that would allow any of their talented players to perform at their best. Every professional season contains a finite number of games. Every game represents an irreplaceable opportunity for development, for chemistry building, for competitive experience that can only be gained through actually playing. Caitlin Clark's second professional season is not a dress rehearsal. It's not an opportunity to protect long-term assets at the expense of short-term competitive engagement. It's a critical developmental separate themselves from merely talented to genuinely elite do so through accumulation of experience, accumulation of competitive situations, accumulation of refined judgment, and automatic responses that can only develop through sustained high-level competition. Every game Caitlin Clark doesn't play is a game's worth of development that doesn't happen. Every rotation that prevents her from finding flow is an opportunity for rhythm development that gets wasted. Every rest designation that removes her from competition when she's healthy enough to compete is a subtraction from the developmental account that builds excellence. You can't get these opportunities back. The WNBA season is short. The games matter. The minutes within those games matter. And the Indiana Fever are treating this developmental window as something to be managed cautiously rather than maximized aggressively. If the concern is long-term health protection, there's a reasonable conversation to be had, though it's harder to have that conversation when the player herself is saying her body feels great. But even granting the most charitable interpretation of the decision, the cost of excessive caution in a player's critical developmental years is real and significant. You don't protect great players into greatness, develop them through competition, put them in situations that challenge them, trust them to respond, and allow the accumulation of experience to do what it does for elite athletes. Indiana isn't doing that, and the cost of that failure will show up in Clark's development, in the team's competitive results, and in the long-term trajectory of a franchise that should be building towards sustained excellence, but instead appears to be managing its way toward mediocrity. This situation is salvageable. Organizations can course correct, coaching staffs can adapt, front offices can intervene when something is clearly not working, but the window for correction is narrowing, and the steps required are increasingly uncomfortable to contemplate. The first thing that needs to happen is transparency. Complete, genuine, unambiguous transparency about player availability. If there's a legitimate medical reason Caitlin Clark isn't playing, explain it. Provide actual information. Tell the fan base what's happening. Treat them as adults who deserve honest communication rather than vague designations that contradict what the player is saying publicly. If the rest designation was genuinely medically motivated, if there's something happening with Clark's health that's more complex than her public statements suggest, then communicate that. Fans can accept medical caution. They cannot accept rest designations for players who say they're healthy. The second thing that needs to happen is a serious, honest evaluation of whether the current coaching philosophy is compatible with the roster's composition, specifically with Caitlin Clark's presence as the franchise cornerstone. This doesn't necessarily require firing Stephanie White, but it does require acknowledging that a defensive-focused, motion-heavy, methodically paced system may not be the optimal environment for a player whose strengths are built around pace, creativity, and offensive freedom. Good coaches adapt. The best coaches in basketball history were defined not by their ability to impose a system, but by their ability to maximize what their best players could do. The question for Stephanie White is whether she's capable of that adaptation, or whether her commitment to a particular philosophical approach overrides the organizational imperative of maximizing Caitlin Clark. The third thing that needs to happen is a front office acknowledgement of the business reality. The people who own and operate the Indiana Fever need to understand, with the clarity that only comes from looking directly at the numbers, what Caitlin Clark means to their franchise economically. The ratings data, the attendance figures, the merchandise revenue, the media value, the sponsorship implications, all of it tells the same story with unmistakable clarity. She is the foundation of everything the Fever have built and everything they aspire to build. Treating that foundation carelessly is not a coaching philosophy question. It's an existential business question. The fourth thing that needs to happen at the league level is a serious conversation about injury reporting standards, load management policies, and the expectations the WNBA places on teams regarding star player availability. The NBA implemented these standards because the alternative arbitrary availability decisions that undermine fan trust and create gambling integrity concerns prove untenable. The WNBA needs to get ahead of this issue before it becomes the kind of scandal that overshadows the legitimate competitive product. None of these steps are easy. All of them require acknowledging that something has gone wrong, but organizations that refuse to acknowledge failure continue to fail. The Indiana Fever have a choice right now, while there's still time to make it matter. Here's the truth that Indiana's front office needs to hear, even if they're not ready to accept it. You don't rest generational talent, you don't constrain it. You don't manage it into a system that was never built to fit. You don't sit it on the bench after it tells you, with complete sincerity, that the body feels great and it's ready to play. You unleash it. You build around it. You adapt your coaching philosophy to showcase it. You create the environment where it can do the things that made the whole world stop and watch women's basketball for the first time in their lives. You protect it when it actually needs protection, and you trust it when it tells you it's ready. The Indiana Fever have something that franchises spend decades trying to find, something most organizations never find at all. They have a player who changed everything, who walked into a league searching for its moment, and gave that